Hello everybody, Jake, your resident content cowboy here, Yeehaw. You know, right near the start of Celestial Guardians, I put together a tier list based on where I thought everything kind of lined up with the new set. And now that we're coming to the end of it, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of give a recap of that. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? And throw a few other Pokemon on there. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's get started. So we're going to take a look at our tier list right here. We have our God tier where we only put one card. We're not friggin' Norse around here. We have our S tier. These are, cards that really perform insanely well. A tier, very, very strong cards. B tier, still got the B tier. These are cards that are okay in the meta. We have our C tier, aka the Charizard tier. Charizard's pretty good. This is a tier for cards that are all right, very specific. And then we have our D tier, named after Dragonite. When Dragonite was so terrible, it needed its own tier. It's no longer that bad, but here we are. That is our lowest tier, things that are just not usable. So this is where I rated everything kind of near the start of Celestial Guardians releasing, and I'm just going to go through it right now and also add some cards that I haven't talked about in this set yet. I'm not going to have every single card on this tier list, but a lot of the big cards, right? Rare Candy I put into the God tier. I'm going to keep that in our God tier. I'm going to spoil it right at the start here. I do still think it's the absolute best and most impactful card in the entire set, completely shifting the meta, but I don't think a lot of people are going to disagree with me or be super shocked about that, right? Heading down to our D tier here, in our Dragonite tier, we have Sophocles, we have the Rotom Dex. Is that what it is? Honestly, this card is so irrelevant, I don't even remember the name of it. I'm sorry, Rotom Dex. I'm going to pull up Pokemon Zone here on a separate browser so I could take a look at this, because I forgot the name. I think it's Rotom Dex. It's just that unbelievably useless. So, yeah, Rotom Dex. Look at the top card of your deck, and then you may shuffle your deck. The biggest problem here is not that the idea behind this card is terrible. It's okay, you look at the card, if it's something you can use, great. If it's not, you can shuffle your deck. You also could decide to not shuffle it, right? You can thin your deck with a card like this. Like you get it in your hand, you play it. If your next card's advantageous, awesome. I think the biggest problem is you only have 20 cards in your deck, and there are so many valuable cards that this card is just terrible. I also put Passimian and Dhelmise down here. Sophocles is a supporter that I will say I was wrong about. I saw Sophocles as way too specific, only working for Golem, Vikavolt, and Togedemaru, Alolan Golem, by the way. I do think because Togedemaru's pretty good, Vikavolt has its moments. I do think this is actually better. It's still extremely situational, so I'll move it up to our C tier, but I think Togedemaru's decent, and Vikavolt's all right too, and this is a good card for them, so I'm moving it out of the D tier. Passimian is bad. You can make okay decks with it, but you have to give up 2 points to use its ability to move 2 energy. That's bad. It's just a bad card. You can win with bad cards. Don't get me wrong. Like, you can win with decks that are not super great. Like, you could win with Passimian. You could win with Dhelmise. But compared to a lot of things, I would say they are bad. They are staying in my D tier. These cards are rough. Dhelmise EX... So sad that this card is bad, because I love Dhelmise as a Pokemon. I think it's so cool. It's just 3 energy to do 80 damage. Yes, you corner them and you get them stuck there, but it's such a huge investment for such little output. It doesn't have enough HP. It's just awful, I think. It's going to stay in our D tier. The Charizard tier. We have Mallow in the Charizard tier. Mallow is really just specifically set up to save your... Zarina, basically. And it also works for Shiinotic. So this card actually might get even better with the next set, because that new Shiinotic is crazy good. Right now, I would say it's situational, going to hang in our C tier. But yeah, pretty cool with the possibilities in the new set. Acerola is also, I think Acerola is actually bad. So Acerola is what I thought Sophocles was. This card, I think, is insanely specific, and the combinations it works with aren't very good. So Palisand and Mimikyu, I don't think are very good. I don't really like either of them, to be honest, and moving 40 damage off the active, I actually think it's bad. I'm going to move this down to our D tier. Yes, in that deck, this card has a place, but in general, I just don't think it's a very good combination. Kiawe, on the other hand, I think is very good. Now, of course, it's very specific, so I could hear the argument for it hanging in our char tier, but it's such a good card, I'm going to move it up a tier to our B tier. The thing is, and I'm going to put Turtonator up as well, I actually think Turtonator is an A tier card. This was not on my tier list last time, but I wanted to add it here because I think this is just such a great card. It's an extremely good wall for fire decks, and with fire decks having things like Incineroar that can do a lot of great stuff with very little energy, or Charizard that only needs 1 energy on it to stoke, Infernape that only needs 2. I actually think Turt in that active spot with Kiawe is a great combo, and I think it's an A tier combo. I think it's really strong, so I'm going to move that up. I'm going to move Kiawe up as well. The only thing keeping Kiawe out of the A tier for me is just how specific it is. It also works for Alolan Marowak, and that has not been on our list, but I'm going to add it. Alolan Marowak is awful. This card is absolutely terrible. 3 energy to maybe not even hit is abysmal, and it's a stage 1. Just truly a terrible card. Turtonator is so good, and Alolan Marowak is so bad. Okay, moving on to our next card, Fishing Net. I'm going to keep it right where it is. It's just insanely specific. I mean, I don't even know what to say, but you could say it's D tier if you want. It's just literally only used for one thing. However, for that one thing, it's necessary. So whatever. Big Malasada, I'm kind of surprised. If there were more status conditions in the game, it would be better. The cool thing about this is, unlike Pokemon Center Lady, is this is an item. It's not a supporter, so you can play it on a turn and play something else. In general, there aren't enough status conditions in the game right now. I think in the next set, maybe with Poison, this could be a card that you would run in a lot of different decks. Right now, I'm going to move it down to our D tier. There just aren't opportunities to put it into your deck when there are just better cards to put in those slots. I mean, that's it. Rayquaza EX, I'll keep it in our C tier right here. Like all promo cards, they're kind of meh, and this one is kind of meh. And I think that's pretty fair. Alolan Muck. Alolan Muck's an interesting one. So the thing about Alolan Muck is the more status conditions you can inflict on your opponents, the better this card gets. But the game feels like it constantly throws things in the way of inflicting status conditions. I think this is just a shade better than Delmise and Passimian, which is why I'm putting it here on our Charizard tier. Our next card here is Wishy Washy EX. And I actually think this card is better. Here's the thing. The strategy around Wishy Washy is cheesy, but it's strong. It is a 170 HP basic EX Pokemon. The strategy is super cheesy. If you want to keep it in the C tier, I wouldn't argue with you too hard, but I've actually found that it's like, unless your opponent has a deck that counters it, it's actually kind of tricky to take this down. It'll probably get worse in the next set. It's like the Wug Trio of this set, right? It's cheesy, but you can pull out wins with it. But I'm going to move it to our B tier because I actually think it's a little better than I originally thought. We have Lana. Lana, I think, is extremely good, but it's really specific. I'm going to move it down to our C tier. We have Ilima. Ilima, I was off on. I think Ilima is better than I initially thought. Crazy good card, able to pull colorless out of the active or inactive spot with damage on them. Pairing this with Arceus too just feels incredibly mean. It works well with Rayquaza EX. There are a lot of good colorless cards this works with. Rockruff. I think Rockruff is, I think B might be fair, but its combination is so dang good. I wouldn't mind moving this to A. I do think Rockruff is quite strong. Yeah, this might be like top of B for me. It's a really good card, but of course it relies on a lot of other things. We have Oricorio. I put Oricorio in B. I was a little hesitant to put it higher because I wasn't sure how aggressively people were going to build their decks around it, but given how the season has shook out, I actually think it is closer to an S tier card, either high A or S tier. My initial thought was, whoa, this thing is S tier, it's broken. And then you see people like build a counter into all their decks for it, and you think, okay, this card maybe isn't as good as I initially thought. Then the meta continues to evolve, and what you find is it's really hard to build a counter to Oricorio while at the same time keeping your deck viable to fight other meta threats. So sometimes people don't even build strong counters to it, and it got like popped into Greninja decks and things like that, into a lot of meta decks. I actually think this is probably closer to S. Cool. Alolan Raichu, I actually think is not very good. I think the best I can give it is C tier. It's always tough. Like 3 energy is such a rough break point. It's a stage 1. It feels like stage 1s are in a lot of trouble right now, right? It's either you're a stage 2 and you're crushing it with the rare candy, or you're a basic and you're crushing it. But stage 1s are in this kind of no man's land where they're not good enough because they're not a stage 2, so they're not as good as a stage 2 would be. But they're not that much better than some EXs that are basic. In fact, some basic EXs are better. So I do think that Alolan Raichu doesn't do enough damage, costs too much energy, is a stage 1, just has a lot of things going against it. Zarina is fine. I think Zarina is actually closer to C for me. It might be like low B. It's like low B, high C. I don't think it's bad. Rare Candy definitely helps it. Having a single energy definitely helps it. Maybe it's a low B card for me. Moving up to our next tier, we have Ilima, which we talked about, Turtonator, which we talked about. We have Guzma. I think Guzma is a high A, very good card. In fact, all the cards in the A tier I think are great. I think that's a pretty fair place to put it. You know, depending on how like in flux our tool cards are in the meta, it'll get better and better or worse and worse, but I do think right now it's quite good. I think Lily is very, very good right now. 60 HP to a stage 2 is really powerful. Leaf Cape, amazing. A tier, I think it's great. Poison Barb, I think is not as good as Leaf Cape, but I do think it is a really good tool, and just tools in general are super strong. I put Incineroar in the A tier, and I think that's pretty fair. I think Incineroar is really good. I put Decidueye in our in our A tier. I think Decidueye is actually maybe closer to S, but I'll talk about that here in a minute. Crabominable I put in the A tier, and I think it's actually closer to our B tier. I think Crabominable is really good. I was hyped on it, but it doesn't seem to have filled the spot that Executor did a long time ago. It just feels like the meta has kind of pushed past that. So I'm going to move that down to our B tier. I think it's a pretty fair place for it. It's not bad for sure, but it's also not incredible. I think Decidueye might be an S tier card. Decidueye is really good, and the Decidueye Meow deck is super strong, but the crazy thing about it is Meowscarada is actually just really the strongest thing about that deck. Decidueye is just a great component with it. I wonder if, you know, moving into our next meta, we'll see Decidueye fall off for some other options. I'm gonna put it up into the S tier. But I might be a little too hype on it. I do think from like where I initially put it and where I feel it is now, I initially thought it was really good. I think it's even better than I thought. So S might be a little strong, but again, I'm ranking this amongst Celestial Guardians. So I'm not saying it's the most S tier card in the game, but I would say it's S tier amongst the Celestial Guardian releases. And Solgaleo, I still think is incredibly strong. However, tournament-wise, it's run into some struggles. I do think it's incredible in the ranked ladder. If I had to move it to the bottom of S or the top of A, I wouldn't be super opposed to it. This card is crazy good though, and it feels like it can have a place in a lot of different metas. Being able to attack for 2 energy and having essentially a free retreat for the active spot is incredibly good. Now, a couple of cards I didn't get to rank last time that I want to talk about. Togedemaru is going to hit our tier list here at the B tier. I think it's actually a really solid lightning card. Paired with Sophocles, you can do a lot of damage, pretty good HP, a nice addition to lightning decks. We have Vikavolt that I'm going to move up to our C tier. If Vikavolt was stage 1 or attacked for 1 energy, this card would be probably S tier. Without that, it's more situational, but you still get some really cool moments with it. I wanted to talk about on the tier list, just the ability to stop your opponent from using rare candy is incredible. The only problem is it will take you multiple turns to get this online and allow you to sort of set up that stoppage. And in that time, your opponents could have already rare candied because people rare candy basically before the game even starts. Banette, really cool card. I'm going to add it to our tier list. I think B tier is a pretty fair place to put it. It's really good, but at the same time, it is a stage 1 and it's a very specific strategy. However, it's super good, super annoying, so I had to shout it out. Oricorio for Psychic decks as well, I wanted to bring up here. This is a really nice card. I might even move it into our A tier. I think Oricorio for Psychic is just a really nice component in decks that kind of could get clogged up with too many EXs. This gives you another point to give away for very low energy. You're swinging for really solid damage. You're threatening your opponents. I like it a lot. Next, I want to talk about Toucannon. I think Toucannon is crazy good. A tier card for sure. Single energy, able to attack for 70 damage once you rare candy it. Just a really powerful card that slots into a lot of decks because it's colorless. You can also combo it with Illima, which I think is very cool. And then the last card I want to add to our tier list is going to be an S tier card in my opinion, and that's Tapu Lele. I think Tapu Lele is so strong. One energy is heaven. If you have a good card and it costs one energy, it is such a strong meta threat. This card also, like, it's so crazy what it does. Tapu Lele with the ability to do 20 damage per energy attached to any Pokemon. What a crazy good meta card, and just an amazing card for a lot of these psychic decks that you see out there, right? Now, I don't have Lunala on this list. I'm going to go ahead and add that right now. Lunala for me is probably still a B tier card. However, I do think the more time that goes on, this card could increase in value. I think I initially thought it was B. And I'd say it probably stays there. However, I do think it's getting better and better. And the more decks that can take advantage of psychic energy, the more decks that can take advantage of energy being moved to the active, this card, kind of like Solgaleo, can continue to find a place in the meta. Next, I want to talk about Kamola. I think this card's actually pretty good. I'm going to put it into our B tier. The thing about it is it's a great Oricorio counter that fits into a lot of decks. You attack for 2 energy, and if you're powering it on the bench, this card never has to go to sleep. You could also, pair it with a Comfey as well, and that way it never sleeps. 70 damage for 2 energy is pretty dang solid. You got to think, Delmise is 80 for 3, and it's an EX. So, just food for thought. I wanted to talk about the new dragon added to the game. I think it is bad, unfortunately, as a lot of dragons are. Maybe it's slightly better than D tier, maybe it's C tier. It's lightning fighting. You have to get a stage 2 online. You can miss your energy. It hurts itself. Like, it doesn't hurt itself, but you take more damage on the next turn. Maybe it's C, maybe, but when I look at cards in C tier, I think they're all better than this card. And then finally, Alolan Ninetales is the last card I wanted to talk about, which is obviously a God tier card in art, and it's unfortunately a very bad card. I think at best it's C. Again, it's like Komo'o. At best it's C. I like them both better than Alolan Marowak for whatever it's worth. The problem is the meta is just either so fast or it's charging up, and spending even 2 energy for this attack feels like too much. Now, of course, there are cards I didn't get to talk about on this tier list that I do have some opinions on, but I wanted to update what we have and give kind of a big snapshot, I should say, of where I think Celestial Guardians ended up. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. What do you still think I got right? What do you still think I got wrong? What shifted in your opinion from the start of Celestial Guardians to now? Like, what was a big aha moment for you? I think for me, one of the ones, I felt like it was strong when I first saw it, but cards like Turtonator, I was like, dang, this thing is actually crazy good. That's one of those cards that I came around on so hard. I thought it was good, but wow, like Turtonator Kiawe, if you turn 1 a Turtonator Kiawe, that is so unbelievably devastating for your opponent. So that's like a big one I turned around on. One that I was really disappointed by was probably Alolan Raichu. I think that card is, man, I wish it was way better. I thought it could be really good when I was first looking at it in the set. I mean, colorless with damage based on your opponent's energy. It feels like such a great meta counter, but it's honestly not. It's not a super strong counter. So anyway, there you go. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. New set soon. I can't wait. We did it. Ooh, we did it.